Welcome to There's a Musical for That.
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 And if you like cellar dwellers
And trapdoor lovers.
there's a musical for that.
And if you like mermaids, crabs, and guppies, why? There's a musical for that.
If you like fan of the opera fan fiction, there's a musical for that.
If you like falling in love and broken hearts, and establishing your dreams and then having them dashed, and duels, there's a musical for that.
And it's called Wicked.
And it's called Little Mermaid Live.
It's called Hamilton.
And it's called Dogfight.
And it's called Fan of the Opera 2, Love Never Died.
Welcome to There's a Musical for That.
This is the greatest show. It's coming over the lights. With the runaways are running tonight. Impossible comes true. It's taking over you. This is the greatest show.
Welcome to There's a Musical for That with Tiffany and Kayla. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Kayla.
And this is the podcast where we prove that there's a musical for every situation.
Yeah.
And if you like bearded ladies and rags to riches stories, well, there's a musical for that. And it's called
The Greatest Showman
Woo!
on Earth. The Greatest Showman.
It's just the greatest.
The Greatest Showman. That's
The
what it's
Greatest
called.
Showman. There's no limitations there. It's not on Earth.
There's
or
no
anything.
limitation in
Just
general.
the Greatest Showman.
The Barnum and Bailey Circus recently went out of business, so I think there was some sort of limitation on that.
Yeah, but then they sold the rights to their movie, and no, I'm just making that up. I don't know, but
They
I
had
would-
to.
Yeah.
Somebody had
So
to get
they're
right.
still making entertainment.
Interesting. Hey, we're back. Hi.
Hello.
We're rusty. Did you guys miss us? Oh, I'll stop.
I'm
Fidgeting. I just was fidgeting. Yes, we're back. Hello. We just saw The Greatest Showman.
Yes, it's still in theaters. It's a musical. If you didn't pick up on that, so that was nice. Also has some circus in there, which
Yeah.
we're going to be training to be in the circus soon, so that's
very
really
true.
exciting.
That is very true. That's not false, actually.
Yeah, we're going to take silk ropes classes.
Mm-hmm.
And then trapeze. Yeah.
Taking trapeze.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this movie about? Oh my gosh. Do you want to do the
This movie is about the
P.T.
start
Barnum?
of P.T. Barnum and the start of the Barnum and Bailey circus.
Yes, which I thought Zac Efron was going to be Bailey because who's Bailey, but he wasn't.
Oh yeah, who is Bailey?
They, I guess, got together later on, but I just assumed he would be Bailey because at this point it's
Maybe
still just
Bailey
the P.T.
gave him a
Barnum.
train. 'Cause didn't they go all over? I don't know.
I think
it's a good...
For I know a little bit, a small, tiny bit about the circus, and it might not all be accurate to the people I'm talking about. But from my memory of what I know about the circus, I thought it was that they were rivals at a certain point, and then one bought the other or something.
Oh.
Like bought the other person out. I think Barnum bought Bailey and then made it Barnum and Bailey or something. Some kind of way they conglomerate together so they would no longer be rivals. But Hugh Jackman plays P.T. Barnum. Zac Efron plays not Bailey. Who did he play? Philip something. Zendaya's in it as a trapeze lady. Or she does a hoop. She does an aerial hoop. Michelle Williams plays Mrs. Barnum. Rebecca Ferguson plays the singing British lady. What's her name? Lila? It was something like Janie or something that I didn't think a British person would be named.
Lainey.
Yeah.
Something.
Kayla Settle is in it. I'm assuming you pronounce her name Kayla. It's Kaela. Kayla Settle from Waitress is in this as the bearded lady. For main actors, I don't know who anybody else was, but I did notice Alex Wong who was on So You Think You Can Dance, who's a ballet dancer, who's also recently in Newsies, was one of the backup dancers. I don't know anybody else who's in this. Do you know anybody else who's in this?
No.
Okay. I will say first of all, the plot started really well. It started with like singing.
Yes,
It started with the beat.
the opener was good.
Boom, boom, and then he just goes, and I was like, yes, this is what La La Land should have been. Something like
A musical?
Well, yeah. I was gonna say
I mean,
something that
really?
actually grabs you and like.
So I felt like La La Land was advertised as a musical, and it wasn't.
I would agree with that.
And this wasn't really advertised as a musical, and it was a real, honest-to-goodness musical.
Yeah, I actually Googled it last night to see if it was a musical because I wasn't quite sure. Because I never know if it's just something where they kind of sing.
Theatrical or actually...
Yeah, or if it was going to be like a true musical, and it
Yes.
was. So it starts with P.T. Barnum singing backstage, and then he goes onto the circus floor in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then he flashes back to when he was a child, a little boy.
Yes.
He's poor.
Taylor's son.
Yeah. And they go to this rich family's house, and he's like flirting with the little girl and makes her laugh.
Yep. Charity?
Yeah, Charity.
Yes.
And then the dad of the little girl gets mad and slaps him.
Mm-hmm. But they end up, she goes off to finishing school, and they write back and forth, and when she grows up, they end up getting...
interlude. You forgot the singing.
They have a singing interlude.
Yeah, and the little boy was a good singer. That's why it's a true musical to me, because even the, like...
Even the kids were...
Well, even when they, like, went out into nature, they started singing. It wasn't like any time we're in the circus we're singing.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, sorry, they had a musical
Yes.
interlude.
A Million Dreams.
Oh. Yep, and she goes to finishing school. That is so bright. She goes to finishing school, and he keeps writing to her and keeps in touch. And then at one point, his dad dies, and he is a poor little lonely street urchin, and he meets a person with facial deformity who gives him food.
I was kind of assuming that person would show up again later on, but they never did.
I assumed it was just to show his, I guess, relation to people who are different. But it didn't make him treat them any better, really. In real
Nope.
life. And P.T. Barnum in real life, not a good person. He used to kidnap people.
I did not know
A lot of these circus people were kidnapping people, and essentially putting them under like indentured servitude of like, well, you know, I pay for your food and blah blah blah, so you can pay me back by working for me, like people do with like strippers and stuff. But it's like you'll never make enough money to pay them back. There's a case with these twins, these two albino. They are Black American men, and they were albino, and they were kidnapped, and they were advertised as like these ape men or something, like the missing link, and I think they were both deaf or something too. It was like they couldn't, because I know a lot of albino people with albinism have trouble with their eyes, so they might have been blind actually, but I know that they were kidnapped, and their family like tried to find them, and it was crazy. And again, I don't know if that was actually P.T. Barnum who did that. It was somebody in the circus.
Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'll Google it. Do you want to continue with the plot while I Google it?
So they end up getting married, and they're happy. They have 2 daughters, and he works for some merchant company, and then all 12 ships go down in the Atlantic Sea.
The sea.
Yeah, the sea. All 12 ships are lost, so the company closes and everybody's laid off. And he's like, oh, you know, I promised you whatever more. They're in a tiny apartment, but they're happy. So he goes home, and it's his daughter's, the day he gets laid off, he goes home, and it's his daughter's birthday, and he tells some great story and makes this little contraption that has a thing over a candle and twists it, and it's a lot of lights, and it's cool. And his wife, after he says, oh, you know, I promised you more, or whatever he says, she's like, oh no, this is enough. Like, they're happy. She doesn't want any more, because her wish is that they're always as happy as they are in that moment. But then he still has to figure out what he's going to do to support the family. So he goes and gets a loan from the bank by line, because he when he left his company, he took like the deed to the company.
Of the ships.
Yes, of all the ships. So when the bank gives him the loan, they're like, well, we're going to need something for collateral. And he's like, my entire business, the business that he was just fired from, that he didn't own, that is no more because all the ships are gone. So that's kind of a con man in that regard. But he got a $10,000 loan to open up this oddity museum, and it's just a bunch of stuffed things, like stuffed elephants and giraffes. And did you find something?
Yes, I did find what I was looking for.
What?
Yes, so these 2 brothers,
Was it Barnum?
the Muse brothers, they did tour with Barnum and Bailey at a certain point, and apparently the circus went through their hometown, and that's how their mother finally found them.
Huh.
after they had been kidnapped. It said she fought to free her sons. This was 20 years after they disappeared. She threatened to sue, and they were finally freed. And at this point, they were touring with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. In 1927, they were kidnapped. They were born in the 1890s, and they were kidnapped, etc., and forced to tour circuses until their mom found them and threatened to sue. So
Well,
this is fun. They called them the Men from Mars. Yeah, I'm not a fan of like freak show type things, so when I found out this was about P.T. Barnum, that's how I was a little like, I thought it was just a generic circus story, because I felt like that would have been better.
probably.
Because with Barnum, you know that he went on to be successful because we know the name P.T. Barnum now and his animal crackers and whatever else. We know about that now. If it was just a random story, the stakes would have been higher because, like, anything that happens, you know it ended up being a success, so it doesn't really matter. There's nothing to be concerned about. Anywho. And you could very much easily make your ringleader a nicer person who was, like, different from the other circuses and fought for the people's rights and stuff, instead of a person who people can Google and be like, I don't know if those practices were the greatest.
Yeah.
And again, I don't, these are not all hardcore facts. Google it on your own, but, Anyway, back to the story. I'm sorry to interrupt.
You're fine. So yeah, his little museum with stuffed things wasn't doing well, and his daughters were like, "Oh, everything in there's you need something alive. That's why people aren't buying tickets." So
I see taxidermied animals.
yeah. So then he was like, "Oh," and the first person he gets to be in it is
A little person.
a little person. What was his name?
Phil. I don't know.
Oh.
Mike. I don't know.
Mike actually sounds right.
It was a very normal, plain, biblical name.
Yeah. And he wanted, like, when he walked in, he found a little toy general or whatever. So he's like, "Oh, you'll be a general riding in on a horse or whatever."
Yeah, he was assuming a Napoleon joke.
Oh,
That's what I assumed.
I didn't pick up on that.
Because he looked at in his, when he had the taxidermy animals, he had a wax Napoleon. And he, like, looked at it, noted, like, looked at it, and then he saw the little guy, and then he saw the soldier.
Oh.
And I thought the guy was dressed up like Napoleon. The outfit. That's what I assumed it was.
No, you're probably right. And then when he was like, "Oh, you want people to laugh at me," and he made the comment, "Well, people are going to laugh anyway, so you may as well get paid for it." I didn't particularly appreciate that.
No, how dare you?
Right.
Is how I feel.
Yeah.
Apparently this actor is credited as being Tom Thumb. Apparently that's what P.T. Barnum called him when he was in the circus, which is highly offensive, but whatever. I'm happy that little people are getting work, personally.
I mean, yeah.
And it wasn't degrading. At least nobody used the M word. I watch a lot of Little Women of LA and Little Women of Atlanta and Little Women of New York. So I feel like I'm happy to see them. Because you get to see, like, all their struggles on these reality shows, like, especially Little Women New York. I was hoping that Jason would be in there. Jason is the one guy on the show, and he was trying to be, like, a dancer and an actor. And he's actually a really good dancer. But alas, Jason was not in it.
Oh.
But yes, a lot of them struggle with trying to make their way. They mostly go into entertainment because it's easiest, but then they don't want to be exploited. But I was happy that he wasn't, being tossed around.
Yes.
Or anything. So yes, he meets the little person.
And he puts a bunch of flyers out advertising that they want unique people.
Mm-hmm. And oddities.
Yes. And then they make... She was probably the main character of the
circus folk,
the bearded lady.
Yeah, Kayla settles.
He goes and finds her
because the guys on the street were like, "You looking for some F words?" I don't know if that's a good word to say. Freaks.
Probably not in the context of how
yes. So my thing that I thought was funny was that in the movie they made it like all the bigoted people said freaks, but in real life they did call them freak shows. So it's like you're acting like these people are being bigoted by calling them freaks, but that's what you called them in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guy's like, oh, I know a freak for you. And he hears her singing outside of the wash house and goes and finds her.
And she has a really good voice and a very thick beard. And then, so they have the live performers, and his show is a hit.
Yep. He holds the auditions, and more people come in, and you get the guy who was tall, but he was also wearing stilts.
Yeah, so they exaggerated everything. They had the
Right.
world's fattest man or whatever, and they stuffed his shirt more. They had the tall guy, and then they made him wear stilts.
The guy with the condition where you grow hair on your face, which is a real thing, which that guy probably does not have, but
I doubt it.
they called him Dog Boy, which is what I think they did call him in real life. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did notice that the conjoined twins that they had,
Did not seem to be legitimately conjoined.
they weren't, well, no, they weren't even twins. I was looking at their
They were
faces.
different. They weren't the
Yeah,
same
I was
height.
looking at their faces. I was like, they're not even twins. How dare they? Just really had their arms wrapped around each other's shoulders. So I was like, okay, well, maybe they're conjoined by the torso. But there was a point in the end when they're at the bar that they were sitting next to each other, and I could see because they were backlit, I could see the light shining through that they were not. I was like, all right, well, you couldn't even put them in a large shirt that like was one shirt, but whatever. They were not even twins. They probably weren't even related. That was a miss on their part. But yes, their show is a hit. They do a lot of singing and dancing and choreography. And Zendaya and her brother come, and they're like, we're trapeze artists.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't like us because we're black, and it's 1920 something or other. So that was her plot point for the most part. I really like the choreography.
Mm-hmm.
What happens after he gets it?
And then the show starts not doing quite as well because the uppity people still look down on it. So he looks for someone else to help make it, I guess, more reputable. So Zac Efron's character, whatever.
He's some rich.
Yeah.
I guess I could look.
Who's invited. Philip Carlisle is invited to all the uppity parties and is said
He's
to
a
have
play producer.
Yes, he's a play producer and is said to have a huge inheritance, but is just unhappy. So Barnum invites him to join his circus endeavors, and he gets 10% of the profits. So the next musical number, The Other Side, is them singing about,
what's it gonna be like when you get to be?
come join me, and I'm just gonna call him Zac Efron because I forgot
that's
his name
fine.
already. All right, so Zac Efron.
Not Bailey is what I was gonna call him. So Zac Efron's better, I think.
So Zac Efron is like, I don't need to check out The Other Side. I'm doing just fine. And Barnum is like, oh, but you're not happy, whatever. So he comes and falls in love with Zendaya. Yeah, forgot all their name. I'm happy I'm continuing.
Her name was Amy, which I caught like near the end. I was like, oh, it's Amy.
Was it Amy or like Anna?
Oh, no.
I think it's Anna.
Anne.
And
Zendaya.
Zendaya. I mean, he doesn't immediately fall in love, but he's immediately smitten. And
Yeah. He sees something in her, and she's like, what's your act, Mr. Carlisle? Which was the thing from the ads that I had seen.
yes, and he's like, I don't have an act. And she's like, everybody has an act. So then Zac Efron gets Barnum an invitation to see Queen Victoria.
Which, how did he do that?
Money. And then Zendaya's like, are we all invited?
Is everybody allowed?
Yeah, something. And he's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just have to tell him that we're all coming or none of us are.
And everybody cheers.
Yes, which was the only time that happened in the show, really.
That everybody cheered?
That everybody stuck together. Like, after that, stupid Barnum was just like, nope, you gotta just, nope. So they all traveled overseas, and that's where they met,
The Queen. Oh, the lady. The British singing lady.
yeah,
We paid real good attention.
her name.
Jenny Lind.
Jenny Lind.
Which is not a real name.
Well, no. So she is the most famous singer in Europe, and Barnum was like, oh, come to America and we'll make you the most famous singer in the world. And they're smitten with each other, making goo-goo eyes. So she comes over to America, and he opens up a show that gets sold out, and before she goes over, she asks the question of like, oh, why do you want me? And he's like, he's
Your
used
reputation precedes you. Didn't
Well,
you say something about that?
That's when she asked like, oh, you haven't even heard me sing,
Oh,
but
that's right.
like why she wanted him to come, and he's like, oh, I usually like swindle people or something, and for once I'd like to give them something real,
A real show.
which also was not very nice.
What do you mean?
I just like that was his first step in downgrading everyone who performed in the circus, in the movie at least.
Well, he had been swindling people because, like we said, he was like stuffing pillows under the large man's shirt and putting people on stilts.
Yeah, but up until
He's a
then, he was
showster.
saying that the happiness they get is real.
Yeah, but he knew the act wasn't. And this time I think he was saying, I want the act and the actual response to both be genuine. Which is, okay, fine, whatever.
Whatever.
I think they needed to slow down and do the slow motion when he saw her because it was obviously like, okay, something's up here.
Yeah,
This movie had a lot of subplots
it did.
that went not too many places. Some of them went somewhere, not all of them did. Like when he jumped on that train when he was singing, and I was like, "Where are you going?" At the end, you know what I'm talking about?
The
And
train was...
the bad CGI train, and the tracks showed it like going to the mountains, like a Sound of Music or something. And I was like, "Where's he going?" And then he showed up at his house, which was like down the street. It's like,
Yes.
where did that train go? Yeah, so he brings What's-Her-Face back to America, and she sings, what's the song called?
Never Enough. Which, so
good.
the actress is Rebecca or Rachel? Rachel Ferguson.
Rebecca.
Ferguson. And the person singing is
Somebody
Lauren
from The Voice.
Allred? I don't know. Not the same person. Not the same actress.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
I hate that. Didn't they learn from the first High School Musical? Because remember that was a big thing with Zac Efron. They didn't let him sing, and it was Drew Seeley. Do you remember that?
I remember you telling me that.
Well, his voice in the first High School Musical was very obviously not his singing voice. And then he went off to film Hairspray to prove to High School Musical people that he could sing. And while he was doing that, the High School Musical cast went on tour, and they let Drew Seeley, who was his singing voice, play Troy Bolton's character on tour, which was nice for him.
Yeah.
But it's weird to me.
Look at Zac Efron's musical career now.
That was not nice.
He's in this music. I meant it as a
What
good
is
thing.
his musical career?
He's
What
just-
what
he's
CD
just
does he have
starred
out?
in a musical. He's in this.
Oh, you
he's
meant
credited-
musical? You meant musical
Yes.
career, not musical as in making music.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't
that
mean
is
it
so
as an
rude.
insult. I like Zac Efron.
I hope he's not on drugs, but I like him too.
Oh, is that? Well, probably a lot of famous
Yeah, a lot of people in Hollywood. It's
Should just
unfortunate.
Not be surprised. So then Barnum takes Jenny Lynn on tour.
Jenny
I
Lynn
can't-
is not a real name.
Well, I can't say the actual person's real name because it's two different people. So they just screwed it all up. There's the actress and the singer. So he takes her on tour across the country and like takes out a huge loan.
Which WTF? If you're
so
breaking in
stupid.
all this money, why aren't you paying your bills first? I don't understand it.
And then, so we know going into it that they're not going to start making a profit until the 41st show because he had to take out that much money and they're in such nice theaters that you have to buy the seats first before you can sell them out. So, yeah, that didn't end well. Spoiler.
So yes, you see them. She's kind of. Sorry, I'm looking for my tissue.
So, yeah, they're touring across the country and he leaves Zac Efron to manage the circus part.
Yeah, and you see Jenny Lind getting more cozy with him. And I'm pretty sure there was supposed to be a subplot where he did some point cheat on his wife, but they just let that hang.
I'm glad it was kind of a downer enough without adding that in. Personally, I think. We skipped the part of This Is Me, which was, well, it was my favorite.
Oh,
part.
yeah, that was after her first performance.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was like, what? After her first performance,
Yes.
Jenny Lynn, and he did not let the circus, P.T. Barnum didn't let the circus people in because he
Right.
was like, this is a highfalutin party, not for you.
Right. And he's like, oh, they can't see you before the show. You have a show in 2 hours. And the bearded lady was super excited to see Jenny Lynn. She's like, oh, her voice is so amazing. And he literally shut the door in their faces. He's like, nope.
He was like, you guys got a show to prepare for, get
yes.
GTFO.
And they're not going to pay to see you if you just walk in. But clearly he was ashamed of them and didn't want them to ruin his highfalutin party. So then the circus people sing This Is Me, which is my favorite number in the musical.
That was the second time I cried.
In the movie?
Yeah, I cried in the first 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, I felt bad for the little boy. And his dad died. I was like, oh my god, this is sad.
Oh.
I have a lot of feelings.
Oh. I saw that coming, so I didn't cry at all in this movie.
You're more put together. So
I'm
yes,
heartless.
they sing that and they go back to the circus, and then at Jenny Lynn's show, everybody is so overcome with emotion. I probably cried at that point too because I liked that song too. I liked her singing. But Zendaya and Zac Efron hold hands, and then somebody looks like disapprovingly at them, and then Zac Efron like takes his hand away. And then Zendaya is really upset and walks away. So when they're singing the This Is Me song, back in the circus, Zendaya looks up at Zac Efron while she's singing. She's like, I'm not ashamed. Blah, blah.
Yep.
So that's another subplot.
And they also...
Then he goes on tour.
And Zac Efron and Zendaya, while Barnum is on tour, have their little musical number, Rewrite the Stars. Oh no, that's before they go. Because when Zendaya leaves the show early, Zac Efron goes after her when she's getting ready to practice her...
No, that's not that part.
It's not?
No. So this was the same day that Barnum left. Zendaya goes to the theater to pick up the tickets. And she's like, Mr. Barnum left me a ticket. And the guy's like, there's two.
Oh,
and Zac
okay,
because
you're right.
she was
Thank
still
you.
mad that he snatched her hand.
Yes, I just knew he came in dressed nice.
Yes, so...
Right. Whatever.
Good eye of detail.
Thanks.
So they go to the theater and Zac Efron's like, I'm sorry, man, bae. And then they go in the theater and they see his parents and they're like, I can't believe you're with this black lady. How dare you? And he's like, you can't talk to her like that, Mom, Dad. And Zendaya runs away. And that's when she goes back to the circus and he's like, you know, some people are just so small-minded and ignorant. And that's when I busted out laughing. I think that's when I laughed. And then I was like, oh no, people are really upset. Because some people the people sitting in front of us were having a lot of feelings.
I heard that. Yeah, I was like, oh wow.
They're like, oh no, or something. And I like busted out laughing because it was so absurd. The way he was like, you can't do this to her. And it's like,
don't speak to her.
Yeah, it's
or
like
how dare you speak to her that way?
You're a full-grown man who does not live with these people and hasn't talked to them for the whole of this movie. So what is it? Anyway, I just thought it was absurd. But then he sees her and she's like, we could change the stars. Isn't that what it's called? If the stars.
Rewrite the Stars.
We could rewrite the stars. We could be together. And Zendaya's like, everybody's just so small-minded.
Mm-hmm. And they don't end up together at the end of that song.
Well, she says, you know, I want you, but I can't. And he started it with, I want you, or something.
Yeah, something along those lines.
That choreography was great, but you could the stunt double's wig was terrible.
Which one?
Zendaya's stunt person. So when she was doing like the drop in the rope and stuff, it was very clear. They gave the stunt person like a raggedy little curly brown wig that they didn't like finger comb out or anything. It just looked, and her hair didn't look like that. So,
I wasn't paying them. I was mesmerized by what the body was doing. I was like, I want to do that.
Cool,
I want to learn how to do that.
I get mesmerized by wigs. I'm like,
It wasn't towards closer to the end where I was like, there's no way she did all of that. Just be it by her. I was very mesmerized. It took me a while to figure it out. Just because
she did some of it, yeah, like
some of it, but
she wasn't doing the drops unsupervised in a movie.
No, and so it wasn't to the point where Zac Efron, I don't even know if
when he jumped on her.
Yeah, I was like, that's not her. That's not her.
Like you had ripped her arm out of its socket. Why did you jump? Why did you leap on her? But yes. Sorry.
That was the moment. I was like,
You're like,
they ruined it.
Her arms are too small for that.
There's not enough muscle in that.
They
tiny
should have
girl's
had her
body.
do some more push-ups because she's small, but she wasn't toned enough to be doing all those arm
she was not toned.
things.
Who was toned? So that's the only person in the credits I wanted. The golden woman, I think, is what they had her in the credits. So the woman
with the
who's
shaved
dressed in
head.
gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Michelle Nichols, whatever was her name. So she was toned. I want to be toned like her one day. One day, maybe if I didn't sit in theaters eating popcorn and fries, I would be toned
You mean
like
you
her.
weren't doing your reps while you're sitting there?
No.
That's what I was
This is
doing.
my rest day.
Oh,
Okay.
it's not Sunday. Michael Barra, hey, this is the guy. So apparently one of the guys, he played the stage manager in the. It was just a background person, but I was looking at the credits. I saw that and I was like, I think that's the guy that follows us on Twitter. But I thought they meant stage manager of the movie. But even though there's not a stage, I don't know. In plays, there is a stage manager in real life. So I thought maybe a movie had one. But this guy follows us on Twitter. He's in A Bronx Tale.
Oh, hey.
I don't know
He's
if he
probably
listens
not
to
gonna
this.
listen,
He
no.
follows us on Twitter. Hey, Michael. Anywho, so they sing their song of "We Can't Be Together" by some forced contrivances because we need 5 plots.
Yep. And then the next song is Michelle Williams, Barnum's wife, Charity, singing Tightrope because she misses Barnum.
He's a jerk, though.
Really, there's not much more to that.
And their kids are sad because the dad's not there. Those kids were really good.
They were good.
Also, I have to note this because this made me very upset. The little girl, one of the daughters, I think it's the oldest one, mentions when they're still poor that she wants ballet slippers.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get rich, he gives her point shoes. And the girl puts them on and is automatically just doing it. You cannot do that. You will break your feet.
Maybe she
You will
had
break
already,
your ankles.
Maybe they fast forwarded a couple months and she'd already been taking lessons.
No, I don't think so.
It's
but
a movie, but
I
yeah,
know,
don't
but
do
I'm
that.
just saying,
Okay.
you cannot. I feel like that's what a lot of people think of when they think of ballet slippers. They think point shoes because they look nice. But you can't just put them on. You will really break your feet and your ankles. So please don't. PSA.
I want to try it though.
Will break your ankles. I'm not even
Maybe
joking.
not. I work out. I can maybe do it.
Do you stand on your toes regularly? Because that's how you
No.
get conditioned. You have to literally stand on your toes like this. I can't do it. And you have to work on your ankles or you will break them. Ballerinas, like their toenails fall off.
Challenge accepted.
Oh my gosh, don't do this. Please, God, don't. Okay, so what happens?
Barnum leaves Jenny Lynn because
She's fallen in love with him or something. They
Yeah.
were very vague about it. I think because this movie was what, PG or something? PG-13?
so it seems to indicate that they're finally going to progress from the next stages of after googly eyes. And Barnum's like, oh no, I have to go home.
To necking.
Yeah, so then she's like, oh, well, then I quit. And he's like, no, don't quit, it'll ruin me. And she's like, you've ruined me or something or
Which,
other.
excuse him.
Right.
Raw.
Like,
So I think there had to be a different cut of this. I can't figure out what this is rated. It must be rated PG or PG-13.
because she also made the comment of like, I've given everything too. And I'm just kind of like, you knew he was married and had kids. What did you
Yeah, and you came
expect?
here so you could be famous in America. You didn't...
Right.
They left out... They had to have cut some things out because I felt like it would have made more sense if he had been leading her on or something and said like, hey, when this is over, I'll leave my
They
wife.
were making goo-goo eyes. That's how he was leading her.
Well, no, that's not reality. That's not how life works. But if they did do something where he was leading her, showing more of his like sleazy behavior just to get what he wanted, because his wife did mention how he's selfish, which he is,
Yeah.
but they didn't follow it through. But if he had been making her these false promises of like, yeah, I'll leave my wife and all of this for you and blah, blah, blah. And then he mentions going home and she's like, wait, what? I made whatever sacrifice. Like maybe she had somebody that she left because he said he was going to be with her or something, but that didn't happen. And she just flew off the handle and cried on stage. It was not normal.
And then she kissed him. So the show was over and he came out and they held hands for the bow. And then she snuck in a kiss and it got photographed and put in the papers.
In the paper they drew it though. What was up with that?
I don't know.
It was a drawing when they had a camera there.
I don't know how newspapers worked back in the day.
Well, if you have a picture, I imagine you would use a picture and not a drawing.
But I don't know how recreating... I don't know.
Well, the only reason I say that is because when they went back to the bar at the end, there were actual photographs. I think the
Touche.
people making this don't know the difference between the 1800s, like the 1890s and the 1920s. Because in the 1890s, yes, you would have been drawing it. But in the 1920s, you would have had a photograph. I think they were just like,
Oh, that's fair. Nobody's perfect. But before...
Somebody got paid to know that, Tiffany. Somebody was paid to and should have known that.
But it wasn't me, so... That's why I didn't know it. So then, before the newspaper comes out, so he goes home like, oh, he's a good guy. He's going to go home to his family.
Good guy.
That's how they make it out. So he goes home, but then the second he arrives home, there's... The firemen are going by, oh, it's the fire. It's Barnum Circus on fire. He's like, what? And they run after, and they get there. Because people who had been heckling and protesting having the circus folk in town and they wanted them out of their town stayed after one of the shows and started a fight and caught the circus building on fire. So everybody was getting out.
And why they did not have security, I do not know. If they were such a ritzy circus.
And Zac Efron thought Anne was still in there, so
Zendaya. Is Anne.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can't just come out and say Anne out of nowhere. These people don't know who that is.
I finally remembered a character name,
good.
though. You know, it wasn't Amy or Anna, it was Anne.
Yeah. He thought Anne was in, so he ran in, and then Anne comes running around the back, and she's
Yes.
like, what? He went in?
Yes.
They should have done, like, a Who's on First of people just keep just forever. But Zendaya's brother... When Zac Efron runs in, he wants to run in, and they hold him back, and I'm like, it's his sister. Like, let him get his own sister. But they let Zac Efron go in, and then P.T. Barnum goes in after Zac Efron, and he carries him out like a little wee babe.
After the ceiling collapses on them.
Yes, the ceiling fell through. It was kind of reminiscent of the movie Sing. Have you had to watch that with your nieces yet?
I haven't watched it yet.
I have had to watch that.
Oh, I guess
The
you don't
songs are
like it.
okay, but it's this koala owns this theater, and he like... Whatever, at the big talent show or something, he also has a giant globe at the top and it falls through.
Oh.
And the theater is destroyed. It's pretty much the same ending as this.
Oh,
I was
you
like, this
should
is
cut
just
that
like
part out and
Sing.
make it a mini-sode.
Maybe I will. I probably won't. I'm tired.
Um,
So yes, it's in ruin.
and so then everybody's sad because the circus people lost their home and the newspaper comes out with the kiss. So Charity leaves,
Well, she didn't leave because of that.
oh yeah, they got evicted.
Because I guess he put his house up for collateral on another loan.
Probably the huge loan to put Jenny Lynn on tour. So they're evicted from their giant house.
Jenny Lynn needs to be sued to high heaven. She signed a contract.
Maybe she didn't.
She did, because he said something like, you can't leave, you're under contract. And she was
Oh, he
like,
did? Oh.
but I've lost a lot too.
Oh,
Sue
yeah.
her. Sue her to Kingdom Come.
Yeah, she was stupid.
That's why we don't know Jenny Lynn and we know P.T. Barnum. So yeah, they send Zac Efron to the hospital.
Oh yeah,
And Zendaya sits there with him because she's like, oh man.
yeah.
I did
then-
not tear up when she was singing to him while she was tearing up because the camera was too close, but that was too awkward. I was like, please stop.
I didn't tear up because I didn't
Care.
have emotion. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah.
Seeing other people cry makes me cry sometimes. Not
Maybe in
babies.
real life. I don't know. Maybe
Depends
I'm
on the
heartless.
person. I don't think you are. I think you just have a lot more emotional stability than some others.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So Barnum goes to the bar because he lost his business and he lost his family and he lost his house. So he's sitting there drinking, and then all the circus folk come in and they're surrounding him, and they're like, "Oh, you made that became our home," and that's not what they said.
That is, but I disagree with it. Did he ever apologize?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. This was similar to, what other movie were we? Hairspray. It was in Hairspray where Link leaves Tracy and then all the black people are like, it's gonna be okay, Tracy, don't be sad. This is what this reminded me of. You have all these people who are like marginalized, these circus people, and you are just being an a-hole. And then they have to come and say, don't worry, Mr. Barnum, it'll be okay. You didn't even say sorry. And they didn't show anything about how much they were getting paid, because I doubt they were getting paid very much, but they should have thrown in a scene where the circus people were able to get nicer clothes or something, like a quick little thing to see, like, to show they're getting
Their
something out
lives
of this.
improved somehow.
Yes. Jeez. Gosh.
But the circus, so they did become each other's family. So
yeah, but that wasn't because of him.
No. You're correct.
P.T. Barnum can go kick rocks. But yeah, so they sang a triumphant song at the end, and that's where I saw Alex Wong dancing.
And the song was From Now On.
Is it? How does it go? I can't remember how anything goes.
I can't either.
From now on, from a distance. Barnum's watching. So yeah, and then Zac Efron wakes up, and him and Zendaya start smooching, and the doctor is like, he was like peeking around, like, what is going on over here?
Watching that white man and that black lady
He was
kissing.
like, oh.
So the circus reopens because.
Well, hold on.
Well, okay. Carry on. You can tell it.
Zac Efron walks back with his little scar on his face, and he's like, you said I could get 10%, but I was taking my cuts weekly. They're there at the burned remains, you know.
Yes.
And P.T. Barnum's like, you're so smart. And he's like, okay, well, I'll give you money if we're half and half partners. And then they say we can't get another building. And that's when your part. The circus opens up.
Barnum's like, all we need is a tent, and the land down by the docks is cheap. And
Yep.
so then...
Yep. And you have a cut of this, like, the circus tent going up, which I did like.
I must have blinked at that moment.
Oh. Well, if you wouldn't know to look for it, I just liked that cut, that transition.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were some horrible CGI elephants.
Yep, and lions.
Horrible CGI lions. The elephants were terrible, though.
But at least they weren't real lions jumping through fire rings.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
they didn't talk about, like, and then they had the elephants doing, like, handstands. They didn't talk about how much they had to beat them in real life to make, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not a natural move for an elephant.
Yeah.
And a lion will not naturally jump through fire. They beat them.
Yeah.
Oh,
But a CG lion and a CG elephant will.
that's true.
So no animals, hopefully, were harmed in the making of this movie.
But in real life, many had devastating, horrible lives. R.I.P. Their blood is on your hands, P.T. Barnum. Where is he at? Down there. I just looked down to hell for all of you.
Well, she looked up first and she was like, oh, he's not up there.
He's down in the basement.
She looked up and she's like, where is he at? Oh, yeah.
Down swimming with the fishes or whatever. Anyway, I'm sure he's dead by now. He must be.
So
But
then-
we did, the point where he was going back after he was happy for whatever reason. Oh, after Zac Efron said, yeah, I'll help you, and he was running back to his family. That's when he gets on the fake CGI train. I just want to talk about it again because
yeah.
it was, where's the train going?
It was a musical number, and they just needed someone to hop on the back of a
He
train.
could have hopped on the back of a trolley car going down the street, not on the back of a train going to mountains in the distance.
Maybe someone's relative had just gotten their degree in some sort of computer thing, and they needed a job. I don't know.
So yeah, he goes to his wife's, we're a little mixed up on where this is happening, but at some point after...
Oh, he got his family back.
Yeah, he goes back to his wife's father's house, and this is like the third time he's done this in the movie. He probably does it once every act or something, I'm sure. And he goes back and he's like, I'd like to speak to my wife. And her father is like, well, she's not here. And the kids are like, she's at the beach. And I thought she was gonna like jump off a cliff or something. But she didn't. She's fine.
There wasn't even a cliff there. She was just standing on the beach.
Maybe I was having flashbacks to Harry Potter, when Dobby dies in that one Harry Potter movie and they're on the edge of that cliff. I think that's my brain was. Because you're right, she wasn't on a cliff.
She was on the beach.
Yeah, and she forgives him, I guess, for kissing, and
Yeah. And
she's a
then-
very weak-willed woman as
he
far as
falls
her
in.
relationship is concerned, fortunately. But she was very dedicated to her children and just being happy, and I did like her. I didn't like that she took his crap, though. And they're like 30 years difference in age. That was weird. To see two children be the same age and they grew up and they're not the same age.
It didn't bother me. So then they put on their last circus show, and it starts off with Barnum singing, and then he passes his hat on to Zac Efron.
Is that a continuation from the very beginning?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so he's singing and then he's like runs to the back and he's like, "Hey, Zac Efron, it's your turn. This hat's for you." And he's like, "Where are you going?" And Hugh Jackman says, "I'm gonna go watch my kids grow up."
Mm-hmm. And then it shows him finally watching his daughter's ballet
Yeah.
recital.
And he sings the end of the
Oh,
most
yeah.
greatest show in the world.
Yes, this
It's right before my eyes.
as his daughter is dancing her little ballet.
She was a really good dancer. I can't believe she's on point at that age.
Oh, and the youngest
It's a tree.
was on stage dressed as a tree.
Those kids were
She was a
good.
prop.
Those were good kid
Yeah.
actors. High five, Austin with the Y and Cameron.
Where's the Y?
Austyn.
Okay.
Cameron Seeley. I wonder if she's related to Drew Seeley from High School Musical. Wouldn't that be crazy if that was Drew Seeley's child?
Ooh,
Drew Seeley, who did the singing voice for What's in Face.
there's no way it's his child. Well, maybe. I don't know. How old was he?
He was an adult when High School Musical came out. And Zac Efron was like 15, and Zac Efron now is in his 30s.
He's in his 30s?
High School Musical came out over 10 years ago, man.
It's just... well, that would...
Hey
Are
Siri.
you sure?
Yes. When did High School Musical 1 come out?
I'm not sure.
Siri, I hate you. Because people on Twitter, especially the like kids who are class of 2022 or whatever, were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe High School Musical's been out this long. I remember watching this in 4th grade." High School
Babies.
Musical came out in 2006. 11 years ago.
It was before that.
It came out in 2006.
The first one?
Yes.
We were in middle school when the first one came out. We graduated middle school in 05.
We were in the first year of high school.
I don't believe that.
We
That's
were
false.
because we watched it at
Nope.
that girl's house.
Nope.
Okay. Well, believe what you want. The High School Musical was a 2006 American musical film television, the first installment in the High School Musical trilogy, directed by Kenny Ortega. The movie was filmed in 2005 in
30.
Salt Lake City. He's 38? Who?
He's 30.
I was about to say he's not 38. Because I know he was like a teen when he filmed that movie, and it's been 10 years. Yeah, so that's that.
I'm not sure that's accurate.
Okay, believe what you want.
High School Musical.
We were freshmen
Weird.
in high school. I know
So
this
we
because
were.
we watched it at somebody's house, and a guest that was at that party was a person that I did not even know existed until high school. That's how I know for a fact, besides what the internet told me. The girl with the, like... Do you know who I'm talking about? The one
No.
who used to steal.
Oh, yeah.
See, she was there, and we didn't know her until high school.
I wasn't there. I went to High School Musical 2
That was
at your
my
house.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's other issues there.
Yeah,
Anyway.
there were. I did not appreciate everybody in the attendance.
We were teens going through issues.
Yeah. Hormones are rough. We got off topic. So that was the end. So my favorite number was This Is Me, or This Is Us.
This is real.
This
This
is real.
is me.
This is
That's
me.
from Camp Rock. No, that's from Camp Rock,
Well,
which you
what
haven't
was my
seen.
favorite number?
No, yes.
I have seen Camp Rock. I watched
When
Disney as a
did
child.
you watch Camp Rock at my house?
No, I watched it on television at my home.
You have a home.
I did once.
We can't all be street urchins. Did a magical person give you an apple and save your life, and then you went on later to exploit them?
No,
happened?
I was in the circus. I'm gonna be on the silk ropes, okay? This is me.
Yeah, you were right. I was just singing the song from Camp Rock. I sang that on the Zoodcast. Also, hey, I'm on another podcast called the Zoodcast. Go subscribe.
Shameless.
That's the Kayla Settles one, right? The
Yes.
bearded lady.
So what was your favorite number?
I liked that one too, but I really liked the choreography and like every number. It was very complex, and I liked it a lot. I really can't remember any of the songs right now.
That's fair. I still appreciated Golden Woman's muscles. I was like, I'm gonna look like
You were
that.
very fixated on that.
I want to be I want to be toned and muscular like that.
Oh,
Like it's just very impressive.
I liked her outfit.
And what the human body can do a stronger human body would allow Zac Efron to jump on them and not die.
I'm looking up.
Not Zendaya's body, but
No,
well,
she
very
just has
pretty,
some more
very
stuff.
nice, but not
Here we go.
super strong.
I'm gonna fast forward this.
I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come.
Hold it still.
And I'm marching on to the beat I drum.
Sing along like Joya sings along. The last
Well,
word.
she does a great job. That's what that song sounds like. Rewrite the Stars was fine. I mean, I don't know. I did like A Million Dreams, which they sang when they were little kids, and then their kids sang it again later, which was nice. Oh, lots. What do you want to rate this movie out of? Top Hats?
Sure.
Indentured Servants?
No.
How many Top Hats are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna give it 3.5 to 3.8. I'm giving it a range.
Give it a range. Commit to something.
Why can't I give it a range?
Be a man. Commit to something.
Well,
3.65.
3.65 top hats.
I'm giving it 3.
Okay.
Middle of the road. If it was on TV, I would watch it.
Yeah.
If it was on like the Hallmark Channel or something.
Yes.
So,
It was. Yes.
I'm sure I'll listen to the soundtrack. Let me actually add it right now. Added. Great. I'm sure I'll listen to this at some point. Maybe. I don't see why I wouldn't.
That's fair. Okay. I'm 3.5.
Yeah.
3.5.
It was fine.
Yeah. Because when I went back to pick up your present, Ash was still there. She's like, oh, how was it? And my reaction should not let me get it more than a 3.5. I was like,
Yeah.
ah.
Why did she come to the movies with us? She doesn't like us anymore?
Well, I didn't know she was going to be there, so I didn't
Well,
invite
that's
her.
a good reason. That's a really good reason. Yeah, it was fine. What was I gonna say? Help. Okay, so yes, I have another podcast called The Zoodcast with our friend Carly. I'm plugging right now with our friend Carly because we did everything else, but on the Zoodcast we did plug this podcast because we watched The Nightmare Before Christmas for Christmas, and that was the last episode we did on this podcast for Halloween. So I actually think I did watch it again, and I think once is enough for a year. I did discover, I thought, yeah, maybe I can watch it twice. Once was enough. The second time I wasn't as filled with joy. I was just like, all right.
Yes.
There's a lot of jerks in this movie. But I did also want to plug that there is a live episode of There's a Musical for That you can see on our Facebook page that our friends Carly and Michelle participated in as part of something that I was doing, and Tiffany didn't want to be in it, but whatever.
I actually wasn't invited. Was I? Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
was
and you're
invited.
like, nope.
I felt like it was a pity invite.
No, you're
So,
no, it wasn't. It's your show too, this thing. Oh, okay. But if you want to watch a 30-minute program, television program of Carly and Michelle talking about Phantom of the Opera and see them in real life, you
Yes.
can.
And you can pretend they're Tiffany and Kayla.
You can do your best. But we're all very different people. Tiffany and I are quite similar, but in some
We're
ways.
different, yeah.
We're still different, though.
Yes.
We're more alike than those conjoined twins in that movie, I must say. Do you have anything that you would like to plug?
No.
Carly and I do plugs because we have things on the internet.
I don't exist elsewhere outside of this podcast.
In the world, you do.
Nope.
You exist to the people who loves you in the heart of children everywhere, just like Santa. Remember when P.T. Barnum's daughter said she wanted to marry Santa Claus?
Oh, yeah.
That was funny.
I appreciated that.
Well, welcome back.
And then she was a tree.
That was the same one?
Yeah.
I like her.
Yep.
She's a good one.
Yep.
What's her name? Helen. I hope she carried the family legacy well. And didn't, do something bad. But welcome back to the how do you feel being back here on the internet?
It's great.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I love it.
You're right. Are you a hostage like the people in the circus?
No.
Oh, that's great.
I don't think my tea is cold enough actually to even drink any.
That's a good. What's that?
It smells
Contigo?
like dirt.
That's good.
Yeah.
Earthy.
Yep.
Contigo. Contigo. Is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Give us a
Yep.
sponsorship. We use your products. All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for you. We will definitely be back in 2 weeks' time. After that, via con Dios. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, bye.
Bye.
How do I gotta press stop. I should have had this up.
Leave that in.
I'm playing it.